children!
Welcome to Epic Bookworm. My name's Danny, and today I'm going to be discussing why the upcoming Netflix original, based on Josh Malerman's Bird Box and starring Sandra Bullock, is most likely going to be a bad film. Any of you who've watched my review of Josh Malerman's mysterious horror novel will know that I'm not exactly a fan. The characters were dull, and the novel was overextended to an unnecessary, almost tedious length. But these problems could be easily altered in the conversion from book to screenplay. The reason that the Bird Box film isn't going to work is not that it will copy what Josh Malerman got wrong, but that it won't be able to capture what he got right. The issue essentially comes down to how an audience perceives a story. And the fact is that even if the plots are identical, a person who reads a book has a very different experience to a person who watches a film. The most critical difference in the case of Bird Box is the number of senses which can be conveyed. Literature is an imaginative medium, and so the writer can easily portray all 5 senses. They can even portray thoughts, emotions, fictional sixth senses. Pretty much anything that the writer can conceive of, they can explain using words. Cinema, however, is an audio-visual medium. When a writer comes up with a screenplay, he can only portray 2 senses, sight and hearing. The audience can see what is happening on the screen, and they can hear what the characters are saying, but that's it. Now, this limitation isn't usually that much of a problem, given that those 2 senses are the ones that people are most accustomed to using. But for Bird Box in particular, this limitation is a big problem. For those of you who don't know, let me talk you through Bird Box's premise. The entire world gets overrun by some kind of supernatural creatures, which destroy society as we know it. Nobody knows what these creatures look like, because anybody who sees one is immediately driven violently insane, killing themselves and anyone else who happens to be around at the time. The result is an apocalypse, with most of the world's population slaughtering itself. The few survivors of this disaster have sealed themselves into their houses, nailing mattresses over their windows and using other methods to ensure nobody can ever look at what's outside. And on the few occasions when leaving the house is absolutely necessary, they wear blindfolds to protect themselves. The reason Bird Box is scary is because of how dependent people are on their ability to see. Being at the mercy of a supernatural entity, which you can never even look at, is a horrifying notion. The most famous horror concept, the fear of the unknown, is used to excellent effect here, because throughout the duration of the book, the reader never finds out what the creatures actually look like, what they are, where they came from. The fact that the reader never knows more than the characters do makes each horror scene feel like it's really happening. In the Bird Box novel, the audience is behind the blindfold. However, this cannot happen in the Bird Box film. Let's suppose that every time Sandra Bullock puts on a blindfold, the entire screen goes black until she takes it off. This would be the only way to allow the audience to experience the same things as the characters, but it still wouldn't work. Without the narration provided by a book, how would the audience have any idea what was happening? Sure, they'd hear heavy breathing, footsteps, and the odd terrified scream, but that's not enough information for true audience engagement. In the book, Malerman primarily uses sound, touch, and the character's own thoughts to describe the environment and events. In the film, none of that is possible. At the core of Bird Box's premise is the removal of the ability to see. Yet cinema is too dependent on this ability to remove it from the audience. And so the audience of the Bird Box film will be in front of the blindfold. They'll be able to see things the characters can't, and will be forced to simply speculate what it would feel like to be in that situation, rather than actually experiencing it on any level. And so the horror aspects, the one thing that Malerman actually got right in his book, will not be able to survive the transition from book to film. The Bird Box film will not be scary enough to be any good, and will probably have to rely on jump scares to get any reaction out of its audience. Of course, everything I've just said is speculation. It's possible that Netflix have something up their sleeves, have used masterful screenwriting to get around the problems I've just described. But I doubt it. I guess we'll have to wait until the 21st of December to find out. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, click here to check out another one you might like. And speaking of likes, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, share this video with your fellow bookworms, and subscribe to catch all my new content as soon as it comes out. Also, why not leave me a comment below about your thoughts on this upcoming film?